Most retirees don't realize how much tax they're actually paying. And a big reason for that is something called OAS Clawback. It's not always obvious, it doesn't always show up right away, but later in retirement, it can quietly reduce your income and increase the tax you're paying. Let me show you how this works. Old Age Security, or OAS, is available to most Canadians starting at age 65, but it's income tested. Once your income goes above a certain level, your OAS starts to get reduced. For every dollar above that level, you lose 15 cents of your OAS. And if your income is high enough, you can lose the benefit entirely. Here's where people get caught off guard. It's not just employment income that counts. RRSP withdrawals, CPP, pensions, investment income, it all adds up. So even if your spending feels reasonable, your income can still be high enough to trigger clawback. And when that happens, the impact can be significant. Let's look at a simple example. If you withdrew an extra $10,000 from your RRSP, you might expect to pay around 30% in tax. So you'd keep about $7,000. But if OAS Clawback applies, you'd also give up $1,500 of your OAS benefit. Now, because that $1,500 is taxable, you're only really losing 70% of it, but that's still a very different result. You're only keeping $5,950 of that $10,000 RRSP withdrawal. And this is where people really start to feel it. They're withdrawing what seems like a reasonable amount, but their accounts are going down faster than expected. And not because of poor returns, but because more is going to tax than they expected. Another way to think about it is this. If you're in a 30% tax bracket and need an extra $10,000 to spend, you'd have to withdraw around $17,000 to account for both tax and clawback. This can put real pressure on your retirement plan. So how does this happen in the first place? It usually starts with a strategy that feels right. During your working years, the message is simple. Defer tax as long as possible. After years of deferring tax, it becomes the default approach. And understandably, many Canadians carry this mindset into retirement. They avoid touching the RRSP and draw from other sources instead. But this is where the problem begins. Later in retirement, several income sources start stacking up. You begin CPP and OAS, your RRSP gets converted to a RRIF, and you're subject to mandatory withdrawals, and your income jumps up. Suddenly, you're in a higher tax bracket, you're in clawback territory, and your flexibility is gone. This is a very common pattern, and it's not due to a mistake in any one year. It's because the overall plan wasn't coordinated. So how do you fix this? It comes down to managing your income over time. Instead of trying to minimize tax each year, you want to smooth your income across retirement. The goal is to avoid large spikes in income later in retirement, because it's those spikes that can push you into higher tax brackets and trigger clawback. So what does that look like in practice? Well, if you retire at 60 and delay CPP and OAS, you may have several years with very low taxable income. That's an opportunity. You can draw from your RRSP during those years, pay tax at a lower rate, and reduce the size of your RRIF for later on. But many people skip this step. They leave the RRSP untouched, thinking that they're saving tax. Then later, those larger withdrawals push them into higher tax brackets and into clawback. Another important piece is managing your tax brackets. Instead of trying to pay as little tax as possible each year, aim to stay within a consistent range over time. Now, this planning is about managing your taxable income, not changing your spending. And to do that, you need different types of accounts you can draw from strategically. The most useful account, at least from an income planning perspective, is a TFSA. TFSA withdrawals don't count as income. So if you need additional cash, you can draw from your TFSA without any increase to your taxable income, meaning you won't have to pay income tax or deal with a reduction to your OAS benefit. Another source to consider is non-registered accounts. These can be personal investment accounts or even investments held inside a corporation. How it's taxed depends on the type of income, interest, dividends, or capital gains, and whether it's held personally or inside a corporation. But in many cases, it's taxed more efficiently than RRSP withdrawals, which makes it another useful option when building your income plan. And this is where it all comes together. Your RRSP withdrawals, your TFSA usage, your non-registered income, and your CPP and OAS timing all interact. Looking at them one at a time is where the problems start. If you take one thing away from this, it's this. OAS Clawback is not just a small reduction in benefits. It can significantly increase the effective tax you pay on your income. And because it shows up later, it's easy to miss when you're building your plan. If you want help putting this into practice, the Retirement Income Planning Toolkit includes worksheets and examples to help you map this out. You can download a copy using the link below. And if you found this helpful, please consider liking and subscribing for more retirement planning content for Canadians.